Hello everyone, welcome to Sewing on a Button for Millennials, or anyone who hasn't sewn on a button before. I had a request from one of my friends about how to properly sew on a button. Now I don't have any actual clothing to show you how to sew on this button, so I have this piece of fabric here and a button, and I thought this would probably be the easiest way to show you. White on black. Hopefully it'll be bright enough for you to see. What you need is obviously whatever item of clothing you need to sew a button on. You'll need a toothpick, and you'll see why in a minute. Your needle, sorry about the fuzz here, and a good needle, and some thread that preferably matches whatever you're sewing. So I have kind of a white as opposed to an off-white, which is this fabric, but what you'll need to start off with is to thread your needle. And as I mentioned in my previous sock darning, well, my sock, sewing a hole in a sock, there's plenty of ways in order to thread a needle without having to do it like I just did. There's lots of tools to help you do it. Once you get, you need about 2 feet of thread, maybe a little less depending on how many holes you have and how well secure you want to do your button. Anyway, so tying off the end of your thread, make sure you wrap it around your finger a couple times so it looks like this. Take your thumb, kind of roll it off your finger, and I just lost my button, and then just kind of roll it between your fingers and then pull it to the end, and that's going to give you a little knot. Just like that. Alright, and I lost my button, so hold tight. Anyway, so you've got your button, and you've got your fabric, and hopefully if it's just fallen off of a piece of clothing, that you'll have holes. That'll be where you wanted your button. If you're sewing on a button for a very first time on fabric for the very first time, line up where you want your button away from the edge, and then if you already have done the button holes that match it, make sure that they line up with the hole on the other side of the fabric. Otherwise, most of the time it's pretty easy to just sew it on using the previous holes. You can find it at least. What you do is you first bring your your thread through your hole there. And if you notice, and I don't know if you can see it very well, I have both thread layers are together. It's going to give you a stiffer hold, so I forgot to mention that. So when you knot it where you've got a double layer of thread, and that's going to really hold your button so you don't have to worry about sewing it on again. There's a few different methods. I've seen people where they've made a little X in the fabric ahead of time, and I'm gonna kind of show you that because it keeps your hole secure as well as it kind of keeps your knot secure in the back. So it kind of makes a little X, as you can kind of see there. I'm not a perfect X, it's kind of weird. Then you're going to bring it's going to look a little messy on the back, but you can trim it when you're done. Then you bring your needle up through the fabric. So have your thread up through the fabric, and this is where you add your button. So go through one of the holes. And this is where the toothpick comes in. So between these 2 layers, see how it's like between the 2 pieces of thread here? You want to put the toothpick in there. And the reason is, if you have a thicker fabric, you want to have some give room between the button and the fabric. And a toothpick's the easiest way to do that, because it keeps it up a little bit, but not a whole lot. You have a dozen different ways you can sew a 4-hole button on. You could either do it cross this way, or you could do it in all 4 corners. You can do it across and then down these two corners. I'm just going to do an X, but you can do it however you feel like, or however the button's been sewn on beforehand. If you do the X, you're going to go back down in through where you had your little X. This is going to help you also know where you started your holes too. We're going to pull the thread down. Oop, watch out here. Oops. Make sure you do both sides of the thread taut. So there's the first one right there. And you've got your toothpick right there, so it's keeping it a little loose. Now if you have a very thin fabric that you're sewing your button onto, and it's like a blouse, and that's kind of the fabric I'm using right now, you wouldn't necessarily have to use the toothpick, but it'll secure it more in the end. So you're going to go back up through that hole, and we're going to go into, sorry, this is folding here, I'm going to go in the crossways now. So just keep pulling it in and out of the fabric, back through your little area in the back, and oh, here we go, right there. See where I'd done the original knot? So try to keep it all in that original knot area there, and then pull it taut. And then I'm going to do this really quick, but you do it a couple more times in and out, so you have a really nice thick hold back and forth. So you do one across there, back and forth. I'm going to do it off camera. Well, no, I can do it without being off camera. Maybe. It's going to be fuzzy though, because I'm kind of holding the camera weird here. I'll only do one more. The more thread you put on your button, the firmer of a hold is going to be. Alright, so I just went twice, but you have extra layers of thread there because of the fact that you had the double thread to begin with. Now you can take the toothpick out, and if you notice up above, we've got all these layers of thread going through. So what you're going to do is we're going to secure that by bringing your needle back up through. Oops, sorry. So bring our needle back up through underneath the button right there. And it's going to be taut, but it's not going to be super taut. And what you do is you take your thread and you wrap it around the button underneath. And that'll give you a firm hold, and it'll get it all nice and together underneath, so it doesn't look too messy. Now also strengthen those strings up underneath. Then you go back down through the fabric underneath the button. So up underneath it's going to look kind of like a gobbly mess, but now we're going to tie it off. So you're going to bring it through the fabric, and then you're going to bring your needle through the loop left over here, and it's going to knot it. And you can knot it a few times. And obviously if I were doing this where I'm not holding a camera too, I'd have made a lot nicer look on the back here. So I apologize for that. And then knot it again. There we go. Once you've had a good couple knots there, you're going to want to trim off your threads. As I said, it would look a lot nicer than this on the back typically, because you could go in and out of your original holes, and I'm kind of made a mess because I've been doing two things at once. But that's what the button looks like from the front. And up underneath, if I pull on this, just to show you how strong this is, I'm going to really do it. And if you notice, even though I'm really pulling at the fabric, that button's not going anywhere. So if you have trouble with your buttons falling off on your pants or on your shirts or anything like that, if you you follow the steps that I just showed you, you will have no problem whatsoever keeping your buttons on from now on. And I even, when I have buttons on certain items like that, I actually will take the buttons off if I know they feel loose and redo them, just because of the fact that most stores have a machine that just goes in and out of them a couple times and doesn't even knot them in the back. So one good thing too, if you have a shirt and it has extra buttons that come in a little package, sew them in underneath inside of your shirt or pants or wherever, down in a seam where it's not going to bother you, or underneath a pocket or something. That way you won't have to keep a track of them in a drawer or anything like that if you lose a button. That's a tip from me. There's a lot of companies that just sew them inside your clothing anyway. But if they just come in a little plastic package, just do that ahead of time. Think ahead for yourself, just in case you do lose a button. All right. Well, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to post them below. Sorry about how fuzzy it is. I hope this helps you when you have to do a button. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.